Title: Only the killer humans came to the rescue. The galaxy had been in turmoil for centuries. The Zorath, a race of hyper-intelligent, technologically advanced beings, had been the dominant force across the stars for millennia. Their empire stretched across hundreds of worlds, and their armies were formidable, each soldier augmented with bioenhancements and wielding weapons capable of reducing entire planets to dust. The Zorath believed they were the true rulers of the galaxy, destined to bring all other species under their heel. But they underestimated one thing: humanity. The story began on a remote planet known as Earth, a small, seemingly insignificant rock in the outer reaches of the galaxy. The humans had long been a curiosity to the galactic elite. Their primitive ways, their constant internal conflicts, and their fragile bodies made them appear weak. But the Zorath had made a grave mistake. They had failed to account for the one thing that set humans apart from every other species in the galaxy: their capacity for violence, a savage instinct honed over millennia of survival on an unforgiving world. When the Zorath arrived to claim Earth as part of their expanding empire, they encountered a resistance unlike anything they had ever seen. The humans, with their ferocity and unyielding resolve, fought back with a brutality that shocked even the Zorath. The humans did not fight like other species. They fought with everything they had, no matter the cost. The Zorath had underestimated the human spirit. They had thought that their overwhelming force would crush Earth in a matter of days. Instead, they'd found themselves locked in a brutal conflict that stretched on for years. The Zorath were forced to adapt, to change their strategies, but no matter how much they evolved, they could never anticipate the next move of the killer humans. The term killer was coined by the Zorath after humanity's relentless counterattacks. It was a term of both fear and respect. The killer humans were the warriors who stood at the front lines of the resistance. They were men and women who had known nothing but war, who had survived the darkest of humanity's history and come out stronger for it. They were the descendants of soldiers, the children of fighters who had never known peace. They had seen their cities burn, their families fall, and their world torn apart by conflict. And in the face of an alien empire, they had become the perfect weapon. The Zorath had never faced anything like them before. Their battle tactics were ruthless, their strategies unorthodox. They didn't fight with precision or calculation like the Zorath, but with raw instinct, chaos, and unrelenting anger. They didn't stop until every last invader was either dead or fleeing. The Zorath couldn't understand it. How could a species so primitive possess such a destructive drive? As the war dragged on, the Zorath began to lose their once unshakable confidence. The killer humans, armed with weapons scavenged from old Earth technology and the occasional Zorath artifact, began to win battle after battle. They had no idea how to fight like the Zorath. They knew one thing: they would fight until the last breath. They didn't know how to surrender. They didn't know how to lose. Eventually, the Zorath decided they needed to bring in their final weapon. They deployed the Nexus, a gigantic warship capable of destroying entire star systems. It was a terrifying behemoth, bristling with weapons and shields, a symbol of the Zorath's technological might. But even the Nexus could not account for the brutality of the killer humans. When the Nexus entered Earth's orbit, the humans launched a desperate counteroffensive. They knew they couldn't win through conventional means, but they had one advantage the Zorath couldn't predict: their sheer unpredictability. A small group of killer humans infiltrated the Nexus, using tactics that no other species would ever consider. They sabotaged the ship from within, turning its weapons against its own creators. The battle that followed was nothing short of legendary. The humans fought with everything they had left. The Zorath, shocked by the ferocity of the human assault, tried to retaliate, but it was too late. The Nexus exploded in a fiery burst of energy, and the shockwaves rippled across the galaxy. The Zorath's final weapon was gone, and with it, their hopes of conquering Earth. The remaining Zorath forces, now leaderless and demoralized, began to retreat. The humans had won. The killer humans, the very ones the Zorath had underestimated, had saved their planet from total destruction. The galaxy watched in awe as the once proud empire of the Zorath crumbled, brought low by the very species they had dismissed as weak and primitive. In the aftermath of the war, the humans stood victorious, but their victory came at a great cost. Cities lay in ruins, and countless lives had been lost. Yet, despite the devastation, there was a sense of pride in humanity's heart. They had faced the most terrifying threat the galaxy had ever seen, and they had emerged victorious. The killer humans, the ones who never backed down, had become the saviors of their world. And so, the galaxy learned a hard lesson. Never underestimate humanity, especially the killer humans. They might not be the most advanced, but they were the most dangerous when pushed to the brink. The Zorath had learned that only the killer humans would come to the rescue when all hope seemed lost. In the end, the galaxy would never forget the story of how humanity stood alone, against all odds, and wiped out the empire that thought it could crush them.